The next phase of Kingdom Hearts cannot come quick enough. We already have Dark Road and Melody of Memory coming out later this year, though we also have 2 more titles that are planned to come out as well, with likely more in the future. This phase 2 promises 3 new stories and 6 new playable characters. 6 new playable characters. That's quite insane if they're talking about just this upcoming games alone, though it shouldn't be surprising if you followed the story for Kingdom Hearts 3 closely enough, along with Remind, and notice some of the new storylines that are developing. It's unsure when the next time will be that we'll have Sora playable in a traditional title that's action game focused, though until then we might be exploring the gameplay styles and stories of other characters now that they all, well, or most of them, have returned to the realm of light. I'll likely talk about this shot of them saying 3 new stories and 6 new playable characters a little bit more in-depthly in another video, though today I wanted to focus on 1 character or 2 characters specifically. Though another thing is that we don't know exactly what they mean by new, because they could just mean new as in haven't been playable in a while, new as in hasn't been a protagonist in a while, or new as in new. 6 new characters we haven't played before, which is hard to think up names for. Today, I just wanted to focus on who one of these characters might be. The obvious routes are Kairi, Riku, maybe Yozora, and likely even someone from the Birth by Sleep trio, though a character I haven't seen many people talk about being playable, even though it's quite obvious to me that he'll have a major role going forward, is Saix or Aiza, who was part of both the first and real Organization 13, though after his defeat has now returned to his somebody form and is now back eating ice cream in the realm of light with his best friend Axel and some new friends as well in the whole Twilight Town crew. Nomura went through the effort of giving him a new outfit in this ending as well, and he looks pretty happy to be back. Saix is one of those characters in Kingdom Hearts 3 who had a mini spotlight on him. He introduced to us one of the many new storylines Kingdom Hearts 3 would be saving for future games. Aiza, in a conversation with Lee or Axel, mentioned his reasons for joining the organization and how it originally was to get clues about her, Subject X, the same person we read about in the secret reports to Kingdom Hearts 3. Saix would have a conversation with Lee about her, talking about how they used to sneak inside the castle to see her, and one day she vanished. This conversation was continued during Saix's defeat, where Saix admitted how he was mad about how Lee seemingly replaced them both and exited their lives, and even admittedly how he was always jealous of Lee or Axel. This scene was very heartfelt and followed the return of the Days trio, and it is made for a beautiful moment altogether. We've known of Aiza and Lee to have had some history in Birth by Sleep, with some minor mentions and hints in Kingdom Hearts 2 and Days. These guys had a story way back then that revolved around Subject X, who disappeared to who knows where. This is a story that would be perfect to tell in detail in a future Kingdom Hearts game, since this story likely took place around the same time Kairi was in Radiant Garden, and we see scenes that depict a Kairi in that time period in Melody of Memory, which makes it likely we could see some progression in that storyline involving Aiza and Lee in that game, since we know they were sneaking into the castle around then and were apprentices at one point around then as well. However, I feel like Melody of Memory will focus more on Kairi and Riku, if them at all, mostly story-wise. I'm especially not expecting some surprise Aiza and Lee playable segment either. Out of all the characters who are back after Kingdom Hearts 3, most of these characters have Keyblades, except for Naminé and Saix in the main cast. I don't really think Naminé needs a Keyblade to be important, but I do think Saix is very likely to get one. Now, I know some people aren't a fan of that because it takes away from the exclusivity of the Keyblade, quote, which honestly I don't care much for myself, because that hasn't been a thing since Kingdom Hearts 1, and barely even then, because just in Kingdom Hearts 1 alone we saw 3 different people with Keyblades and confirmed to have others exist. Sora was simply our introduction to the Keyblade. He wasn't the only person meant to have one. I don't think Saix should just pop out of nowhere with the Keyblade either, though his gameplay might be a lot more interesting if he has one. And even despite that, regardless of gameplay choices, I just think he's going to get one in general because I feel like he's the most likely character to get one given the characters he's surrounded by. Naminé, I feel like, doesn't need a Keyblade to be important because she has powers over memories, and it seems like the nobody characters kind of keep their powers. So if she still has those powers, then she might be pretty busted going into the future of the saga in terms of intel information. I can see her having a role kind of like that. But I can imagine him getting his Keyblade in a like emotional breakthrough or triumphant hero moment maybe. Similar to Lee's build up towards getting a Keyblade, but obviously more unique to him. You could say Lee had like a big emotional sort of breakthrough in Kingdom Hearts 2 and had his big heroic moment in Dream Drop Distance when he came to Sora's rescue. And even before then, like, his character honestly did deserve one. I think it'd be really special and cool to have a game that tells a story about how Aiza and Lee are trying to save Subject X, which seems to be what they set up in Kingdom Hearts 3. They could be pushing research on this while simultaneously telling a backstory and providing some visuals to what we've heard about them sneaking into Ansem the Wise's castle and the conversations they've had with the girl. Also, does no one find it super suspicious how Saix is involved in this great Subject X storyline and has a X marked on his forehead? I can't be the only one who's like noticed that or like would mention it. It could just easily be a mark from Xehanort, but like, what if it has a double meaning? This girl that Aiza was so motivated to find, he joined the organization, snuck into Ansem's castle, and even became a apprentice, all along with his friend Axel, of course, though when Axel joined the organization and both of them got sidetracked, he made new friends in Roxas and Xion. Although torn apart from them, Saix had nothing but his duties as an organization member, which is where the jealousy formed. His heart and emotions fading, he didn't really have any purpose but the one the organization gave to him. A game where Lee and Aiza are looking for a new lead on her whereabouts. They could easily go from world to world looking for some clues. Maybe Ansem does remember something, or maybe they even find out something from Kairi in Melody of Memory somehow. Though this lead they are trying to find could be what the whole game is about. During this, we get to learn about maybe where the other leaders went, or what happened to them. If Subject X is indeed Scold, a key part to the story would be seeing what exactly happens to Scold and Union Cross as well. It looks like a lot of the characters are going to be using the arc, which might end up sending them to different time periods, though there's still plenty of info to discover. Aiza, Lauriam, Lee, Kairi are seen from my perspective as new focuses going into phase 2. You could probably lump Naminé in there as well, along with some other characters, but regarding like the main like protags, or not protags, but the like main group of characters that we kind of saved, I guess, I see those characters having like big focuses in the future. Saix, I've always felt like has had this story to tell. Ever since I heard that line in Kingdom Hearts 2, I felt something. Like there was something this character was hiding. This is a character I'm sure lots of people would love to be playable. I know Aiza has his own little fan club in the Kingdom Hearts community, similar to how Lee does, so a game revolving around him and Lee would be pretty awesome and make a lot of fans happy. I find it very likely that a story revolving around Subject X will have its own game, and I believe that a game like that would definitely have Lee and Aiza standing up front. I have no idea if Aiza would have a Keyblade for this game or not, but I figure he would or would obtain one at some point. I think playing as Aiza in general would just be extremely interesting. They could mix in his Berserk mode with like some sort of gauge, similar to how command styles or Keyblade transformations work, which that actually sounds really fun. Being able to play Berserk mode as Saix, that sounds really cool. Aiza, Saix is a character that it seems like they'll be investing a lot of time into. Kingdom Hearts 3 has set up the perfect storyline for him and Lee to find out about what happened to Subject X. It feels like a well-deserved character arc for Aiza to rescue this girl and bring her back, only to even find out maybe that she was a Keyblade wielder herself and find out she's some ancient leader from the past. Like, it would be really interesting to see them find out all that and have those interactions. What really interests me though is what type of dynamic Aiza and someone like Scold, or my bad, Subject X would have. I really do hope Aiza is one of the 6 new playable characters in Phase 2, because I think he's a character that deserves the spotlight after being shackled by the organization for some time now. He's finally back with his friends on the side of light, and likely wants to go out there and see what other information he can get about this girl he joined the organization for in the first place. This friend from back then that he held super close to his heart could potentially bring out a side of Saix that we never knew about. If you enjoyed today's video though, leave a like, share the video with a friend or a family member, leave a comment down below telling me what you think. What characters do you want to be playable in the next phase for Kingdom Hearts? What character do you think is going to be playable the most? Do you think Saix is going to be one of them? Do you think it's more likely that Yazora will be playable, or Kairi, or somebody else? Like, let me know all of that down below in the comment section. And last but not least, if you have not already and want to become a part of the Union, all you have to do is hit that red little subscribe button down below. My name is Prodigy, and I will talk to you guys soon. Peace out, guys.